Well, there was definitely these looks of like a lot of curiosity when I said I was leaving to work in a painting company. Um, Jokes on them, you know what I mean? But it was definitely at the time, they're like, what are you going to go mix paint? Like everyone was like, what are you doing? You have an upward trajectory to become a VP of enrollment management. You could work at any university you want.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. What's up, everybody? Mike Hickman, founder of PainterGrowth.com, and you're listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. And here we are, round two with Micah Stelter, the something at Aleph Holdings.
What do I do for a living?
Co-founder and all these big titles, board member and chairman and executor.
We don't care. We don't care about that. We have to earn those titles, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So your wife is expecting your which number of child?
Number 5, Mike.
Oh my gosh.
Am I crazy?
You're absolutely insane.
Is that great? Do you have kids? Do you have kids?
I have 2. Yeah. We're still man to man though.
Okay, that's good. We are in full zone coverage right now.
Dude. It's like playing 2-on-5 basketball game, you know?
My wife is one of the most resilient humans I know. She's tough as nails. And she and I had zero plan for what we were going to do with kids, so that's how you get to 5. You don't have a plan. You just go for it, right?
Yeah.
But it has been a huge blessing, man. Every one of my kids has been life-changing, right? But we are expecting number 5 this week. So, you know, thank goodness we could do this podcast today, because I could have been holding a baby in my arms, but
I mean, that would have been thank goodness too, right? So, one thing, so I wanted to tell you about my, just a really quick story on my first child experience. So my wife was pregnant, 37 weeks pregnant, and she told me to go, just for the people who are listening, 40 weeks is kind of when mothers have kids, and it's generally accepted that it will happen around 40 weeks. Anyway, she's 37 weeks is our first. And she's like, you got to go to this entrepreneur conference. It's 2.5 hours away, different city, but you got to go. It's just one night. She's like, I bought you tickets. You're going with your buddy. I'm like, sounds great. Right on. Let's go. So I go. It was on May 2nd, 2019. And I drive. Pick up my buddy. We drive 2.5 hours. We go there first day. And then we go to the after, party dinner and stuff. And it's 11 o'clock at night. I get a text message from my wife with a picture of a puddle on our kitchen floor.
No.
No. So we say our goodbyes, pack up, hit the road, and I got to watch my first daughter get born on FaceTime driving 80 miles an hour.
No, it happened that fast.
It happened that fast. It was they call it a precipitous labor. It was she barely made it to the hospital. She made it to the hospital, and the baby was born.
She made it to the hospital.
Yeah. My buddy's wife went and picked her up because it was 1 o'clock in the morning by this point. And they got to the hospital, and she had the baby 13 minutes later.
That's my wife's worst fear, that would happen. It's actually my oldest son's worst fear too. He keeps asking Lizzie, okay, how fast do babies come? He's so nervous, but look you survived. You survived, and the baby's healthy.
I'm a survivor. For our second, I was definitely there, and I was on a travel ban for 4 months prior.
Yeah. Oh,
but so I'm guiltless because she actually bought the tickets for me and told me to go. It's not something that I sought out.
Understood.
You have any crazy story of the 4.5 right now? What's the wildest thing so far?
All of my kids typically come late. I had one baby that was a planned C-section, but everyone else has kind of just come late, and we've known they're coming. So nothing crazy. All the kids have been healthy so far, and I've been blessed with that. So it's been great.
One thing that I wasn't planning on, a direction I wasn't planning on bringing this to, but for me at least, it has been to have kids. The drive and the direction that I've had with my business and my career and my time has been so clear, and my motivation has completely changed. Whereas previously I would make moves for me and my business, and it was all about me. and like how can I maximize my life. But now it's all about
Yeah.
like how can I maximize my family's long-term wellness and being, while at the same time like being a present father and not thinking about business while I'm with them and not checking my phone. So it's all like this
Yeah.
optimization for family time, and it's so motivating.
Yeah. Legacy, right? As soon as you have children, you start thinking about legacy. Before you were just thinking about what is my next move? What's my personal income? Once you start having children, you're like your world just grows. Your selflessness grows. You learn it's not just about you; it's about something greater. And that I think is a really cool shift if you decide to venture into having children and you're lucky enough to do that. But I think if you adopt or can't have children or you do, if family is a plan, it's just amazing how that can create a whole different shift. I don't know about you, I think it inspires you in a whole different way, in like a purer way of what I'm doing going to last, right? So is this going to last for generations, or is it just like to pay the bills right now? For me, at least, that's been a huge piece of, you know, my kids and the culture we're creating at home is how does business like bless them or be available to them of what I'm doing when they're older, if they want to take it on, right? And I just think differently about it. I think about it more long term because I have children and
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out what is, they got to go in their own way. They got to make their own decisions, but I certainly want to build something that's going to support them in the long term, just as long as I don't give them too much. You know what I mean?
I
They got
was
to earn it.
actually just gonna say that because that's like my goal too. Like I would love my kids to never have to like, if they didn't want to, they don't, they're comfortable, right?
Right.
Which is obviously going to be the case, but like where's the balance between like providing too much and like how do you need, because you need to push them to develop their own skills and their own drive and desires, but like ultimately you want your kids to be like trust fund kids, but you don't want them to act like trust fund kids.
Oh my gosh, that's what it's like, a dopamine receptor. Every time we give them something, it's like that feels so good to us, right? It
Yeah.
feels like we feel accomplished in that, but it doesn't help them accomplish, right? And in order to help them accomplish, you have to kind of create that route of grit they have to learn on their own. We had to do that, right? I'm sure some of us have had parents that took care of a lot or supported us, and we're grateful for that. But I think when I look back, there was areas which I wish my parents would have pushed me a little harder to be grittier. I learned it later in life than I could have learned it earlier if they kind of knowingly said, "Nah, I'm not going to provide that for you. I'm gonna push you a little bit to go after that." Because there's a power in an individual's ability to face something really difficult or hard and have to overcome it. I
But
think that
you're
creates
constantly as
something
the
cool.
as the parent, as a father, as a provider, like you said, you have that dopamine effect. So you're constantly battling
Yeah,
like that, there's that
always.
short term. Well, there's it's like multifaceted actually now that I'm thinking about it, because the short term like value that you get being a provider and giving them something that they want and they desire, and then there's that the reception piece where they like appreciate it and they see that you're trying and they really like that, but long term there's like the negative repercussions. So there's it's just like such a, when you actually think about it, it's quite a, it's a conundrum.
Well, my wife and I, we pulled back a little bit. I was definitely on a let's have fun times and provide a lot. And I think we had a couple years where some vacations and the kind of a hey, let's buy fun things and share that together as a family. Especially as business, you're not just living paycheck to paycheck. You start to achieve some things later in life, and you're like, okay, I have some extra budget. And as I did that, I didn't like what I saw in the kids. It was a little bit assumed or like, hey, this is obvious. This is coming, right? We can do these things. And I didn't like that. And I started pulling back a lot more. My wife and I have found there's a lot of joy in actually some of the restriction. And hey, even though we're not going to, we're going to hold back and throttle out, fun times together. But let's be smart. Let's teach them prudence. Let's teach them budgeting. Let's teach them restraint. Let's teach them waiting and patience. These are much better values, right? For really long-term success and a human's ability to like withstand all of what life is going to bring them, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's hard to throttle back if you don't, if you like, because you want to provide, right? So I could be better at that. I mean, I have two little girls, right? And so they're definitely daddy's girls. And so, you know, I gotta fight with that. Because it's hard when they just, my girls are like almost 3 and almost 5. My oldest is turning 5 this weekend. And yeah, I'm just like wrapped right around her finger, which it's fun, but it's to her eventual detriment.
Well, you got to have some fun as a dad too. There's nothing wrong with that. That can be fun. It's like there's definitely a tension to manage in that, right? There's super hard, like don't give them anything, and there's like some bitterness and resentment that gets created, and then there's giving them everything, and there's some like some spoiledness that can come into the mix. So
Yeah,
you just ride the middle line on it, you know.
totally. So,
That's cool.
how is how has being a father kind of like impacted the decisions that you make in business?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the first. So my first kiddo was born in 2012. Um,
How
the
old are
next
you?
kiddo, I'm 38, 38.
Okay.
So
Okay.
early start,
Yeah.
but I'm getting older, right?
Yeah.
I do have
Yeah.
almost 5, right? But we started a family in 2012, and then we had a baby in 2014, and then 2018. And by that point, 2018 was when I left the career of higher education, which was my background. I was a director of admissions at a university, and I left that career um, to go sell paint jobs in a little company called Paris Painting, right? And I think when I had my first kiddo, this is before I'm doing what I'm doing now. It immediately made me figure out, how do I make more money? How do I earn more income? Because my wife had a desire to stay home with the kiddos, and I was not making the money to allow her to do that. And so it really became a need of, I need to figure something out, and I need to figure it out right now. And so I was able to scale into some another position and get promoted. Had to work for it, but got promoted, and was able to. It was enough money. I mean, this is like, we were like living on not that much. I think I went from like a $30,000 a year salary to like a $41,000 a year salary, and that was enough in our world at that time to make it work. And then from there, with the other kids,
This
I
was not that
started
long
thinking,
ago. This is like six
this
years
is
ago.
this is like 2012. It's
Oh, I thought you
not
said
like
18.
it. No, 2018 is like 5, 6 years ago. This is like 2012 when that happened.
Okay.
And so I
Gotcha.
graduated from the university in 2009. A couple of years of, got married right away, and then we had our kids a couple of years later. So this was kind of those jumps. But I was working in a nonprofit. It was an institution, right? So quite a bit of a discount versus going the professional business side. Um, and that's what we were living off of. So a lot of budgeting, a lot of planning, but we made it work. And then when I had the third baby, it was like, I got to figure out a way to start buying my time back, because these kids are going to need me, and I need something that's going to last. For me, that was an internal pull. So it really was part of why I looked for, what am I going to do next in 2018, which led to seeing this partnership forming in Paris Painting between two friends of mine, Jason Paris and Chet Funk. And I made the jump and sold paint jobs, and I made a little bit of a pay decrease to go do that. It ended up not being a pay decrease because I crushed it in sales, which is awesome. But I was able to make the jump over and really start plotting a course to being part of building Aleph with these 4 other guys, and
What a
kind of where I'm at
crazy
today.
like lateral, or it would be hard to call a lateral sale that you had to make on your wife. Like, I'm gonna quit this job, this comfortable job at a university to go sling
Yep,
paint jobs.
that was that took a year. That took me a year of talking with her. I just had like a heart feeling of, I got to get into small business,
Yeah.
especially in the trades. There's something cool here, and I need to do it now, or I'm going to miss the boat. Is what I felt like, right? Um, but it took a while, and so I had 10 basically the sales reps of universities. I had 10 admission counselors, 30 student workers, and an assistant director on my team at the university, and I led that whole department. to then be just by myself selling paint jobs was a very wild transition. And it wasn't until 2021, 22, even actually this year, where I feel like I'm doing the same role within Paris Painting that I was doing before. So that was a wild transition. But
And we
speaking
just had
of the
one come home.
kiddos,
We just came home from
look at
daycare.
that. What's your name? What's your name?
You gonna say right here?
Mia.
This is Mia.
Mia. Oh my gosh.
How old are you?
Mike's so cute.
You.
You're 2.
2?
Yeah.
You're so cute. I like your rainbow shirt.
You gonna go play now?
No, I like Daddy.
You can't sit with Daddy right now. I gotta finish a podcast.
I want to know what Mia thinks.
Okay.
Hey Mia, tell me what you think about Daddy.
Michael.
Yeah,
Michael.
perfect. That's perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you made this shift from a university, and then but I think you probably one of the reasons that you crushed it is you had to like rise to the occasion, because you're like, there's no way that I'm not going to do well at this, and I'm going to do everything that I can take to like not just like prove everyone wrong, but like I have to decide.
Well, there was definitely these looks of like a lot of curiosity when I said I was leaving to work in a painting company. Jokes on them, you know what I mean? But it was definitely, at the time, they're like, what are you going to go mix paint? Like, everyone was like, what are you doing? You have an upward trajectory to become a VP of enrollment management. You could work at any university you want. I had done a lot of successful things with the team, and I didn't want to leave until I had put it in a really good place, right? So I had onboarded a new CRM, built a bunch of culture and systems to have objective accountability around numbers, and I felt like the culture of that team was moving from kind of the institutional, I don't know what our results are, to more of a business system where we could operate in the university. And I got it in a really good place. And that's when I said, hey, I got to go. I got to go build these skills in something that's mine, that I'm a part of, that I own. Right.
Yeah.
And that really was, I think in many ways, it came from having this family that I needed to support and take care of. And now it's fun to look back, but hindsight is always 2020, right? There was a lot of unknowns in that, but couldn't think of a better, I don't know if you can hear my kiddo in the background of my sound, but
yeah, all good. I mean, it makes it easier when you have good partners that you're going with, that you can trust, that like you've either worked with them before, or their character, and you like, because you're really like, hitching your horse to their wagon, or whatever, one of the two.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a jump where it was with people that I trusted for sure. I mean, that's where a lot of our belief in partnership and Aleph comes from, is how we all partnered first, right? We had to do a lot of work to build that relationship. We had to all figure out what we were going to each specialize in at scale as we grew everything. And I think that's why we went as fast as we did at a few things, was we all took a piece of the pie and went after it. And never really, we always knew how to put our owner hat on, our shareholder hat, and our employee hat, and know how to keep them separate. And we're still doing that today.
Yeah. And that's, I think, a skill that a lot of people aren't super great at, is, even though they have multiple roles within their company, looking at the company and making decisions separately based on the best interests of whatever particular role they're actually operating in, whether they're the salesperson, or they're the general manager, or they're the production manager, or they're the shareholder, right? Or they're in the, or they're a painter. Like, are you making a decision in the best interest of all of the roles that you currently have, not just the one that you're currently doing?
Yep. Yeah. Being able to, especially with a company that's growing and scaling, and they're at the beginning of it, you sit in the seat of each of those specialist roles. And as you grow, you can find actual individual people for each of those seats. But, in a partnership, as you start figuring that out, really being clear about who's going to do what part of what needs to be done. I think most of the partnerships fail when it's not clear, right? When there isn't trust, when there isn't an actual accountability to each role that you're playing. So, yeah.
One of the topics that I wanted to like talk about today with you that we were kind of talking about before we went online was the concept of like accountability. Right now in my business, I'm in a position where I'm actually promoting several people to be managers of different divisions, and you're working on some team stuff and some leadership stuff as well. So, what do you feel are like? First of all, why don't you define accountability, and then we'll talk about like some tenets needed to have accountability on a team.
Yeah, accountability is a wild word. I think a lot of times people feel like it's negative, except for the people that understand how valuable it is. So, like we're accountable to our family, we're accountable to our workplaces, we're accountable to our own individual goals. And really, what I would just say is, the things you commit to do, you're going to do them, right? And um, in our company, every year, I oversee the sales division in Paris Painting, and then lean in a lot with building the sales playbooks for our companies nationally as well. And one of the processes we have is every year, our team builds their new compensation, and they set up the goals that's going to allow them to earn that compensation. And so they have a moment where they can get excited, and based on their past performance, if there's somebody who's coming back for second or third year, they've done a few seasons, they can build what they want to commit to. And then we review together what that looks like and align on, is this too much of a stretch? Like I always want to help people in their accountability of, I don't think you want to be accountable to that goal when we get into the heat of the season. If it's too far outside of what they've proven they can do, right? I like excitement, but I don't want them to be in a situation where they get pushed outside of the realm where they can be accountable, right?
So let me just break that down just a little bit, just for clarification.
Absolutely.
You and I think you might have talked about this last time you were on a few months ago, but so you make your sales reps come up with their own goals.
Yeah.
And what, like, based on how much they want to earn, they know their commission structure. They come up with their own goals. Okay, I'm a sales rep. I want to make 100 grand. This is my comp model. Here's what I need to do to make 100 grand. And they present that to you as the sales leader.
Yeah.
And then you help them achieve that.
Hone it in first in the plan, and we push it around together, and then at some point we lock in, and that's our plan, let's go, right? And then in terms of helping them, so for me, accountability is a lot about commitment. Are you sticking with your commitments, and are you taking them seriously? And that to me is how I define what accountability looks like. And are you problem solving it when you're off track? Are you thinking about it in depth? Are you asking the right questions? Are you self-regulating around the solutions? Are you evaluating every week what's working, what's not working? All of that shows a lot of commitment. And if you show a lot of commitment, it shows me that you have a lot of accountability to what you're trying to do. Because I think a lot of times, you tell me what you think too, Mike, but I think a lot of times people that are great people in the organization, they want to achieve what they set out to achieve. They just get stuck, right? They get stuck in personal life issues. They get stuck. They can't see kind of through the weeds when they're in the heat of the season. They're trying to problem solve one way, but the data says something else, right? And they need help, right? They need help to see that. So I think sometimes for me, how I can help people be accountable is coming alongside and really showing them what I feel like the root issues might be from my vantage point, or active listen when I'm out on a bid with them, to be able to kind of reflect back. Here's what I think you might be missing, and then to watch them take that feedback and apply it. They get pretty accountable pretty fast, right? In the
Basically,
numbers
like, your
sense.
role is like skill development and removing roadblocks.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And I think you can't just delegate somebody a goal and say, good luck, right? I don't think that really works. Have you found it to work?
No, they need buy-in.
Yeah. They need like conviction too, right? They need to see what are we asking them to do? Do I believe it will work? And then commitment. Are they going to do the work it takes to go do that? And that needs somebody to come alongside, right? You do that all the time in your coaching, right? And supporting all the businesses you work with. And I do that with my team as well. It's like that's why Aleph uses the ox symbol. It's that like come side by side, we yoke up, as we just do the work where we plow a field for a great harvest, right? For us, that's pretty flowery terminology for the business does well and the people do well and the people make the income they need. And that just, I think that takes a side by side humility and being with people to help them see it and achieve it. I certainly don't want to do that if somebody isn't committed. And that commitment and accountability are really, in my opinion, I use them interchangeably.
Yeah. So they can be used interchangeably, but I think commitment means different things to different people. Especially like the word accountability can be kind of a fluffy word, right? So let's just use the word commitment for a minute. Say I'm a painting contractor. I just hired a sales rep, right? My first sales rep I ever hired. I sit with them. Our goal is we want him to sell $1 million in his first year, right? It's a good goal. He's making 10%. He's gonna make 100K. He's bought in, he likes that. How can we get commitment and accountability to that goal? Like, what are the steps that you take to get someone like bought in to the goal that they've helped set, so that they do the hard thing and get the result?
Yeah. So we're talking brand new sales rep to the organization.
Sure. Yeah. Just for a
Yeah,
hypothetical.
I think for sure in the coming all the way back to the recruitment process, you're showing vision of what it means to be successful. So you're really painting a path of, if you do well here, here's where we're going together. Here's where the company's going. There's leadership potential. There's teams to be built. If this is if the company plans to scale and grow, right, over time. I'm assuming that because they're hiring salespeople, right? And I think showing that path, getting them really bought into the vision is key, and the culture of what it looks like to work in the organization. Then you're sitting at a table and you're saying, okay, what is the actual goal you're going to sign up for, and what are you going to earn for that goal? That has to align to somebody's vision for them, right? For that individual. So the next thing is, what is your motivation? What is your why? What are you going after? How can I partner with you to achieve that? What's it going to mean to go make $100,000 this year, right? So that individual really has to understand, where's the company going and how am I going to be able to fit into that? And then how is this compensation going to impact that individual to get them to a place where they're really bought in? That to me ramps up that first layer or foundation of commitment. And I think a manager or an owner that's going to lead the sales team, however you want to look at it, or myself leading the sales team, it's really important to know where that person wants to go and know where I'm going and what I would want them to be a part of, and to have that foundation. Because when I go coach, or when I go get in the trenches, or when things don't go well, coming back to that conversation is really important. As you know, in painting, the season gets pretty wild at different points of the year. Like, you really have to hold on. Yeah, like right now is like, wow, we're going crazy. And that commitment really matters. What their goals are and what this means if they achieve it really matters a lot. And for me personally,
it's sorry to cut you off, but it's
no, that's fine.
And it's obvious, but to me, maybe not obvious to everyone, but it's sales. You're selling them on an outcome. They're just a human that you need to get them. Mm-hmm. You need to make a sale. So the previous podcast I did, we talked about the spin method, right? Situation, problem, awareness, implication, need, payoff. So here's your current situation. You're making 40K. Here's your goal situation. You're making 100K. The implication of that is that you're going to be able to, your goals, right? You want to buy a new boat. You want to take your wife to Paris. You want to do whatever. Like, this is what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Right. And then need, payoff is, I guess, like, this is how you're going to feel once you've accomplished all that. So how can you take your sales rep? You got to take your sales rep, or any person who you're trying to make accountable, through that type of sales process, to get them bought in.
Yeah, I think for business owners, the biggest thing to not forget is that recruiting is absolutely selling. But just in a painting company, there's the sales and then there's the production. So the production side of recruiting and people development is, how are you as an owner or a coach in the business going to come alongside them and together see that original goal be realized, right? It's It's you get them really bought in, they're psyched, they start. Well, now they're in crisis of engagement and they're like, do I really have to sell this goal? It's really harder than maybe I thought. They enter some informed pessimism. They're a little like negative at first. They're like, this is different than maybe. Think about my informed pessimism after I left the university and I started selling paint jobs. There was like, there's definitely some moments
you hit
that
a
are
crisis of meaning.
you're in the ditch, and then I don't know if you cry or you just like feel like paralyzed, right? And that's where I think coming alongside a leader or a business owner or a leader or coach, you have to be really aware of those things where your people are at, because you can come and meet them where they're at, help them avoid quitting, help them avoid, leaving the curve at crisis
You know
of
what? So
meaning.
the sales process, I like this. I never thought of it this way. The sales process is getting, I mean, I've thought of that sales, like recruiting is sales, and you sell them, but then production is like what you sold them is their job opportunity now. How good of a leader are you, and how good can you get them to their end goal, which is their earning potential and their experience throughout that process. That is what you sold them. If you're not prepared to deliver on that sale, then you're going to be seen as a bad leader, someone who's unorganized, and they're probably going to quit. So there's so many people who say, I can't find good people out there. It's because you don't have a good product to sell.
Your production engine is not operating, right? And that to me is a fun way to think about how we do recruiting. Sales and production's for dough, right? So it's where the real rubber meets the road. This is how are you really doing the work? You can recruit somebody off of fun feelings of uninformed optimism, and everyone's like, this is going to be great. It's actually how you deliver in those tough moments throughout the year where somebody gets the skill, starts delivering a result, and they feel like you support them, you're behind them, and they start learning it to the point where they're like, hey, I don't even know if I need you anymore. I have got this. And they start reciprocating or replicating what you did with them with other new people. And that really is what starts to create a really cool culture around accountability is I did it, you can do it. And here's how we do it. I think people generally do want to achieve the things they set out to go achieve. It's just hard, right? And it's hard to do it alone. Some people can do it alone if they're really good at asking themselves questions, but I don't know a single person that doesn't. Doing it alone, just they're looking, they're researching, they're reading books, they're talking to mentors, they're using coaching groups, they have partners, right? All of those things are critical to get people through the end. And so as a leader, I think you have to consider what's your production engine look like as a leader. Like, is this going to be a place where people want to stay, and not only stay, they want to thrive and do it for others because you did it for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think you nailed it. Generally, the people listening to this podcast are ones who are trying to do good for their businesses and their lives, and they're forward thinking and they're open. So how can someone, if they're not sure what their production engine looks like how can they become that person who's capable of attracting and retaining an A+ player?
I think a lot of people that are listening to this are smart, and they know they might have a lot of these skills, but they might be selling themselves short, right? Or they're trying to shortcut it. There's really no shortcuts to bringing on great people. One of the things we get, especially around salespeople, owners can often think, I have to go find like the slick, used car salesman type, and I don't know if I want to do life with that person. And so they'll hire that what that looks like, that person, maybe kind of a cowboy, and then they just want to like close their eyes and hope it works out, right? And so I think one of the things is I've thought about this a lot, right? Because I run into owners that's the constant story of I tried that hire and it didn't work out. And I think what I'd like to get back all the way to the beginning is you want to hire for culture. That's a big deal. You want to hire somebody that you want to do life with. And if you are a decent human being that has a family that's healthy and good friendships that are healthy, it's the same principles in your employees or your team, right? It's the same idea. You don't want to separate them totally, right? The same things that work in your personal life, if you have healthy relationships, are going to work in business. So my biggest encouragement would be, if things aren't working in your personal life, that's going to carry through to business as well. And so what can you do to go seek help there? I think honestly, 360 like feedback, go to close people in your life that you trust. Where could I do better? Some humility, right? How could I be a better person in a life? And then take those concepts and bring them into business. But hire for culture, hire the people that you want to do life with. So you really are excited to invest in them, versus just delegate because you're not sure you know what to do or how to help somebody. That usually doesn't work. So that'd be one of my encouragements to as a place to start. I
A
think
litmus test
outside
that
of
I use, a litmus
yeah.
test that I use to see how organized the painting contractor is I just look at the floor of their truck. What's your truck look like? Is it a disaster filled with like receipts and pop cans or soda cans, I guess
Yeah.
you say down south, and McDonald's bags and whatever? Or is it like, is it clean? Is it vacuumed? Do you have like labels on everything? Like that's how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so if you don't take care of your vehicle, your books are going to be an absolute mess. Your job sites are going to be a mess. Your truck and you're not going to have any inventory systems. It's just, and then imagine being an employee that comes into your business being promised a great employment opportunity, and you pick them up for work, or they hop into your truck or something, and that's what they see. Does not instill confidence. That's a quick win, I think. It's like making your bed in the morning, in your truck in the morning, or at the end of the day.
Well, and I think it's important that individuals don't forget you can absolutely change. You can adapt and change. If you have a natural style that's messy and disorganized, you also might just not want to prioritize that, but it's that those habits are wreaking havoc in your whole life in different places. You can actually find systems and learning and books that actually, if you really felt like you needed to change, you can actually change. That's my story. In 2015, I read a book called Do More Better. It's a Canadian pastor, actually. Shout out to Canada, but he wrote a book. It's a really small book on productivity, and I read that like ferociously because
like
I was
really thin or really small.
Really thin book.
Okay,
so you can read it fast.
Not small.
Yeah, it's not like a little tiny. It's not a tiny book. It's a thin book. It's on Audible too. But that I read that and it hit me right where I needed it to hit me at the right time because I had a lot of reason to grow in this area. And so I think the biggest thing is you have to have a strong conviction of I need to change in this way if I want to get to the next level. So then you build those systems like productivity systems and calendar use and task management to organize your life. And then I think from there, you start doing things that make you get really used to, oh, this sucks, but I'm going to do it. Oh, this sucks, but I'm going to do it. I think running habits, fitness habits do that. Diet habits, there's some cornerstone habits in life. And I think this is why you see really successful people hiring personal trainers, getting extra coaching, even when they're good at what they do, they're getting more coaching. It's why they have habits of fitness, because I think that a lot of successful people realize that is the training of my mind that I need to have to be able to do the hard things in business or in life or in relationships. I have found that in spades that's probably my biggest learning over the last decade has been you can absolutely change. I used to be a kind of like flow in the wind, slob, eat whatever, no discipline, whatever, just a hedonist, whatever I wanted to do. And it's been amazing to actually see I'm a very different person than I was pre-2015. And I think we're all dynamic. We can all change, we can all grow, and it takes time. But I think putting those things in place really do help kind of the revelation of how you can help somebody else be accountable as well.
Because that's ultimately what you're doing when you're hiring someone is you're helping them. You're becoming their leader, whether you like it or not. And a question I like to pose to people who are considering hiring or having trouble hiring is, would you work for you? Right? If you were looking for a job, and you saw and everything that you bring to the table, would you work for you? And I think if you just like take a step out of your body and look at the opportunities that you provide, and a lot of the time it's going to be no. And if it's a no, what are the things that you need to do to make it a yes, to be a better employer, to create a better opportunity for someone? And they don't have to be crazy and complicated and convoluted. They can be simple. Right? Take care of yourself. Start working out. Organize your vehicle. Put your books together. Like, doesn't have to be crazy. You just have to do one thing. Be a bit better than yesterday.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to bounce back to your 360 feedback thing that you said, because you said that in really quickly, and I think that it's a really cool concept that I have done before. I think it is. I think people should be doing it more. But tell me what you mean by 360 feedback, and how can someone who maybe doesn't have a manager or whatever utilize that in their business to learn their weak spots?
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with an individual that's willing to go through the gauntlet of getting real, honest feedback. I think we can be honest, a lot of us would just like to not get the feedback and just keep running. But if you're a glutton for punishment, I mean, I think that's what we feel is, well, maybe I'll throw myself through the gauntlet. I think there can be a lot of great insights that come from this.
Well, as entrepreneurs,
but
we like to do hard things. We're here because we want to do hard things. I mean,
yeah,
some entrepreneurs are here
yeah,
because they just can't hold a job. That's
yeah,
another thing. But most people are here because they want a better life and they want to do the hard thing.
100%. And I think that so we've called it different things in the path. Growth edge is one way we call it. It's like what are two continues to work ons in just your skill set. You can be really simple like that, or you can go a full, like you pick 5 to 10 trusted individuals and you hire a consultant that can actually bring you through the whole model, and they get all the feedback. It's really dialed in, right? There's a lot of different models out there.
Is there like a
But
book or a resource you can share?
I don't have one off the top of my head in terms of research. I'm sure we could research and figure out that, but
Yeah.
I don't have one off the top of my head, like a system that you use. But like I read a book recently. The title escapes me. I'd have to look it up on my Audible. But he was saying, like, he went around to everyone in his network and he said, what do you think I'm uniquely like exceptional at or uniquely gifted in? Because we can't always sometimes read our own label, and to be able to start to understand what is the impact I'm to be making on the world can come from a lot of people saying, here's what I think you do better than most people do. And it really helps you understand the value you're adding. Sometimes we might even have a perspective of, I think I'm really good at this, but that feedback can validate the things you think, but also add some new things to what you're uniquely gifted at, where your strengths are. It sometimes is really good to focus on your strengths, because you can know your weaknesses, but to focus on them is probably a bad idea, right? So how do you leverage your strengths and then find people that can support your weaknesses and kind
Yeah, I
of
love
help that, right? That's
It's like
almost
I'm
a
never going to
better
be a
approach.
financial analyst. Like I'm never going to be able to go
Right.
and do my bookkeeping because I don't have the attention to detail for that.
Yes. 100%. And I think I'm going to look up that book title so I can put it out here, but I think that strength focus is great, and not in pride or in arrogance or anything. Like, I think in humility, just what am I here to do? Where do I add the most value as an individual? That's good to know. And it's good to know the people that you trust to tell you that. And I think it's good for, we all have blind spots. And I think it's good to ask the question, what do you think a blind spot is that I have that I'm not aware of? I mean, if you prepare yourself mentally for that feedback, it's great. I never enjoy hearing that or seeing that. I like to always root out wherever I can find a blind spot, but they're blind spots. You don't see them. That's why they're called blind spots. And so when you are opening yourself up to that feedback, it needs to be trusted people, because you need it's a really tough thing to just blast on social media and ask people, what do you think? Right? It really has to be a core group that loves you no matter what, and has the love for you to be able to give you the right feedback that is actually going to help you. And I think if you haven't done that in a while and you've just been running, it's always good to do that, to just prepare where can I develop the strengths, and how do I be aware of those blind spots more acutely. There might be some things you can do to improve. I think we all have some opportunity there, but focusing a ton on a thing that's just a weakness is kind of a waste of time too.
Totally. So 99.9% of the people listening to this will not do a 360 feedback with a trusted person, right? Just they're going to listen to this podcast, and this podcast is going to end, and they're going to keep doing their own thing. Alex Hormozy has this saying, is that to learn is to change behavior. So same stimulus, different behavior. Like, that's learning something. So I hope that people learn something from this and change their behavior. So I want to make it super like actionable, bite-sized. If someone is listening to this and like, I think I have a blind spot, I would like to become a better leader, and I want to do a 360 feedback session, and I listen to these questions and I listen back and I wrote down the questions, who should I ask? Should I ask my wife? Should I ask my husband? Should I ask my mother? Like, who should I be asking these questions to?
Yep. I mean, I can tell you what I would do, and what I have done. I for sure ask my wife. I ask my 4 business partners that know me really well, about 1 or 2 best friends that have known me for various seasons of life. So it's really great when you can say, okay, here's the people who knew me in high school. Here's the people who knew me in college. Here's the people who knew me at different stages of life. Because you'll start to find the threads, right, of each of those. Because we're dynamic. We do different things at different seasons, but that'll be able to show kind of a thread. It's just important that the feedback that comes back from somebody that's really trusted, that loves you, you really listen to that. And if there's people that you just want to ask them, it's like, just take it with a grain of salt, right? You don't want it to ruin your day. You know what I mean? But it's sometimes really helpful to get, what do my high school friends think, with this feedback. And I think crafting a question like, if you were to think of 1 to 2 blind spots that I may not be aware of, what would that be? That's one. And then what are 1 to 2 things that you think I'm uniquely gifted at, that is like specifically to me? If I were to break it down, it'd be simple like that, and just get people's feedback in a written form that you can keep as a note to kind of contemplate and think about. And from there, I think you can get a really good base of some actionable. So what would it be to move, if this is my blind spot, how's that affecting my life? How much can I solve that? Or is it just a reality of who I am, and I'm gonna just be aware of it now instead of blind to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's maturity in that too.
Yeah. I mean, then you can decide if you want to continue with that trait or not.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I think you're really like you're a messy person. It's like, okay, well, I can now choose to live with that, or I can choose to fix that. And either way is fine. It's just as long as you now have the choice to be able to do that. Because awareness, you can't solve anything without awareness of it.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. That awareness piece is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, what we're just about at time here, but like, just first of all, can I get one of those Olive hoodies? Those are sharp.
Oh yeah. What size are you?
Large, man.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Okay, I'll get you some. I'll get you some Painter Grove merch. I should have connected with you. You should have came by when I was in Minneapolis last month.
Yeah, that would have been
Yeah,
great.
Jason came by.
You got to make sure you let me know when you're in town, man.
Yeah,
for sure.
Jason came by. It was great, man. He melted the roof. So
that's good.
So that was really good. I'm gonna toss out an ethereal question here. I don't know the answer to it, and maybe there isn't an answer to it, but all of the development and it's going to come full circle here, all of the like self-development that you've done and leading people, becoming first becoming a great sales rep, and then leading a team, and now leading a team at Aleph. How do you feel like that has changed your perception as a father?
Wow. I mean,
in 10 seconds or less. Just kidding.
I would say the demands of the work, the intentionality of coming alongside people and helping them achieve, and having to do that both from like a real need, this business has to work, to a desire, I want to support and help people achieve where they want to go. I think for me, it's really given me a perspective of humility, and it's really tempered me out. The highs used to be really high and the lows used to be really low for me, and I used to live life like that. And I think the benefit of going through some of the trials of the last couple of years, and there's been many, I've adapted a lot of these habits and solved a lot of the variability of feeling, to just really having a steady hum every week, right? A steady push. And I've had to do that for business, and it's helped me to be really successful because I can see things a little clearer. I can make better decisions because I'm not too low or too high. I'm really measured and focused, just like a marathon running pace, right? You can't go too cocky, because you're not going to finish, or your time's going to get blown up. You can't go too slow. You got to find this nice middle. That came through what I had to do in business and leadership. And I was able to bring that back to my family and our culture as well, where my wife and I used to have a lot of, I used to be like, wow, like what a terrible day. I'd be a lot more flagrant about when things were off, and I would, and she would listen, and she was gracious. And my kids would be like, okay, Dad's really consumed with that. My mind would be somewhere else, right? And I think through a lot of the adapting and change and what I've done with just the accountability and coming alongside with our team at Aleph, I've been able to bring a lot more of those skills back to my family, where I can be more present and I'm not so variable.
Yeah,
And
I think a lot of us
I think they
bring home
benefited
our
from
work.
that. Yeah, we do. Yep.
Yeah.
And if you can kind of smooth it out and not make it too chaotic one way or the other,
Yeah,
I think our families do benefit from that a lot.
100%. Well, dude, I got to get you back here more often, man. That was like the quickest hour ever.
We had fun.
Yeah, man.
It's
Some
always good to
episodes
talk about being
flow.
dads.
Dude, some episodes flow, some episodes do not flow, and that there's some flow. But dude, I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Good luck with baby number 5. I mean, routine by now, right? You probably have a room with your name on it at the hospital. So,
hey, it's always been kind of a different hospital, so we like to keep them guessing.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. Well, hey, Micah, congrats, man. Good luck with that. And again, thank you guys for all you're doing at Aleph. Love watching your story.
Oh, I was going to say one last time. I think, is there like an Academy Award in order for this commercial you just put out? I don't know if it's a commercial, but it was like a well done video shoot of you in a Sherwin-Williams store as a painting contractor in chaos.
I was just pulling from memory, man. Pulling from the memory bank.
Oh my gosh, you need an award. I watched that a couple times and I thought you did such a great job.
Appreciate you. Yeah, it was pretty off the cuff, and it just it worked out. It came together.
Oh, that's fun, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, people can find me at Micah Stelter _Aleph or AlephHoldings.com. And
we'll put it in the description. Email it to Clow and we'll put it in the description.
I love it. And you are a gem, Mike.
Okay, thanks, brother.
You're a gem.
Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.